Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Merry Christmas, Craig.
All I want for Christmas is Cougs.
That's number one on the charts now?
Yeah, that's
not her version,
song?
Your version.
Yeah, I know.
Your version is going to be number one on the charts.
I'm really happy for it. Got a gold record coming in the mail. If you want to buy all these songs, I've compiled them. Now that's what I call terrible,
dude. That would make such a good project on my part to like just compile all the clips and just like put them back to back to back. Like do like every podcast does a year in review, right?
Right.
Like I should do that. I should go back through all. This is episode 62, if you can believe that crap.
They don't all have songs. None of the previews
that's
have
true,
songs.
They don't.
So maybe you got about
that's
like
true, but the rest of them do.
47 or so.
Yeah, because there were a few where you were like, I just don't have a song. So there were a couple of those. But like the rest, so there's like 40-some songs.
I think the song started at the Ernie podcast, the Ernie Fired podcast. I think that's when it started.
It might have been because you were just so excited.
Yeah, I just had to sing.
That might have been it. Yeah, just had to sing. Well, anyway,
well,
yeah,
this
Merry
is
Christmas,
podcast.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah, Merry Christmas Eve as we record it. You'll all be, of course, sitting around your fires on Christmas morning listening to this podcast.
That's right.
As
no
is
better
tradition.
way to wake up.
The podcast, of course, is Podcast versus Everyone. I'm Craig Powers. With me is Jeff Nusser. Yeah, it only takes us 5 minutes into the podcast to remind
it's
everyone
only
of that.
2 minutes.
It's only 2 minutes.
We're
It felt like 5 minutes. Every time I talk to you, it just everything feels twice as long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the magic of podcasting right there. That's my students would tell you that too. Every time Nusser starts talking, it feels like twice as long as it actually is. So, that's what teaching's all about right there. Getting young minds to dread you. It's great.
Well, it's Christmas Eve. Do you have any silly Christmas Eve traditions?
We don't, but so our family is probably a lot like a lot of families where you end up trying to coordinate multiple Christmases with multiple families and weird stuff like that. So we actually started, it's Christmas Eve. We started our Christmas yesterday on the 23rd with part of Sarah's family and, did some of that, did some gift exchanging last night, and then we'll do some gift exchanging tonight with more parts of Sarah's family, and then we'll have our full Christmas tomorrow, where we'll open up presents with the kids in the morning, and then we'll go to my dad's in the afternoon. And by the day after Christmas, I'll be exhausted and need to sleep for about 24 hours. About the only tradition that is I don't know. Like I don't have a weird one. I don't know. Do you have a weird one?
No, Amanda and her brother always watch the 24-hour marathon of Christmas Story. Like they keep it on the entire time and actually watch it.
So they just watch it over and over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing stuff throughout the day, but it is always on, like all 24 hours. So that there's no one, you're not allowed to watch that movie before Christmas Eve. I don't know. Like we've already done a Christmas, like on last Friday. We did a Christmas Eve with my sister and my mom. My mom was flying up from California and she was staying with us, and then she went to stay with my sister, and they couldn't drive over to Yakima, so we did a Christmas Eve dinner like on the 21st or 20th.
Nice.
So I made a turkey and all the sides, and then Amanda really wanted a turkey because her mom makes the roast, the prime rib, and so we're having that tomorrow. But yeah, so I did all that, and then we did a full on like Christmas morning. Like I stuffed stockings. We told B that Santa was coming. We we let her open like one of her presents.
Dude, she's gonna be so confused.
Yeah. So we told her, this is practice. Or Santa knows we were having a Christmas. I mean, she's 2; she doesn't care. But the big thing has been getting her hyped up for Christmas and Santa. It's been pretty fun. Just being
it's not hard to get her hyped up, dude. She is easy to hype.
Yep,
for sure.
So that's been fun. I don't know. I can't think of anything weird that we do. We're pretty standard stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it's like my dad and his wife will come over to Amanda's parents' house to make it easier for us, which is nice.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
When
nice
and
when
tight.
the in-laws get along like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect, man. That's actually I wish mine was kind of like that. That'd be nice.
Yeah, the other night,
right.
the other night,
it's okay. Like 3 days of Christmas. I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
I said the other night, my dad and I went to a brewery, and then we came back, and we came back to Amanda's parents' house so he could see B because she was staying there and she was about ready to go to bed. And I was just like wanting to have a beer, so I'd have to, because I'd had to drive him home. He doesn't live far away, but I was like, I don't want to drive him home. So I talked him into staying the night.
Good idea.
Yeah, I just talked him into staying the night so I could drink beer. It's like, Dad, don't you want to just stay here? You don't got to work tomorrow. Just stay here.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, we kind of did a similar thing last night. My tradition on Christmas is pretty much like everybody else's tradition, which is to drink, like you were talking about. And yesterday it was just straight vodka and cranberry juice. So we were gonna go somewhere to see someone afterwards, and I was like, yeah, why don't you just come over here? I don't want to, Yeah,
I want to stop this
anyway,
trade.
Yeah.
All right.
But the kids love the fact that it takes multiple days. Like, it's the adults that are like, all these days. The kids are like, dude, 3 days of Christmas? That sounds good. I like that. My kids are now bugging me for opening presents today. Opening their presents from us today, and I'm like, no.
No way.
You have to wait until tomorrow morning, you little turds. And they're like, come on, please. And I'm like, whatever, dude. Your papa's going to show up this afternoon, and you will be so blessed that whatever. It's insane. My kids get more. I guess this is the American dream, right? My kids get more than I ever got on Christmas, and that wasn't for the lack of my parents trying. That was just like that was just my grandparents weren't involved at all, like their grandparents are. So it's like I said, American dream.
Is there any Cougs stuff on your Christmas list?
Oh hell yeah! Like how about I don't know, like any Coug gear. I mean, my family knows they can get me anything, Coug related.
Right.
And I'll be like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. So I actually, so here's a funny story. So Sarah is a very stressed out gift giver because she is such a good gift giver. And she's like, she always wants to make sure the gift is just right. So she bought me a couple of sweatshirts off Fans Edge.
Yeah.
And ordered them. And so I am currently at a size where sometimes I wear a size large and sometimes I wear a size extra large. And it just kind of depends on the company. And even with Nike, Nike's the perfect example, right? Because some of Nike's stuff is pretty big and some of it's pretty small. And it's sometimes it's not even it doesn't even go with when they say athletic cut versus regular cut or whatever.
No.
Anyway, so she bought me a couple of sweatshirts, and it was stressing her out that they might not fit because she was like, well, what size are you? And I'm like, I don't know, like it depends, large or extra large, whatever. And she ordered these two things in large, and it was like stressing her out so bad that she wasn't sure if it was going to fit. She did not want Christmas morning to be ruined, so she had me open the gift with these sweatshirts 2 days ago. And so I opened them up, and one of them's a nice, Nike, performance sweatshirt, and it's a large, and it fits perfectly. So I've already got like 2 Coug things in the bag. I'm gonna wear them today, one of them today. So
nice.
Yeah.
I sent Amanda the link to the College Cup shirt, and I'm like, I want that.
There you go.
So hopefully,
yeah. Subtle hint.
Hey,
look, you could get one of these for me.
in her family, they pretty much just like tell each other what they want, and then they get it.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Yeah.
so she's always like just wants a list, and so I just send her like here, but and like so I asked her for this jacket, or like I sent her a couple jackets like for like a down alternative whatever jacket.
Yeah.
And I sent her a couple
Yeah.
links, and sure enough, like it was like one of them was a mammoth jacket, and it sure enough like a mammoth box shows up at our door, and I looked out the front door window, and I could see it. I'm like,
Look at that.
I think you should get those boxes.
I wonder what that is.
Yeah. Gee, I wonder what that is. But yeah, I definitely want. I'm hoping she took the hint on the college cup shirt. Otherwise, I'll have to go buy one myself. But obviously, my Christmas present to myself was going to Arizona. So
yeah,
that's a nice Christmas present. You know, day after Christmas, getting the hell out of here.
Christmas present to yourself.
Yeah,
heck yeah.
Enough family time.
It's like 30 degrees this morning, so at least the biblical rain stopped. So that's good.
Yeah, that was
some sunshine.
So
how about that game? Maybe we should talk about that.
I don't know. No one wants to hear about the Cougs, right? No, yeah. So, yeah, good old.
They just want to hear this. They just tune in to hear us talk about Christmas some more.
Yeah, So Air Force. All right. Triple option.
So have you done your normal research for that, or has Christmas interfered with your normal research?
Well, I haven't. I've done a little bit, but I haven't written or anything. So I've definitely like looked at this, like the same stats, but I haven't dived into them. However, dove into them quite as much as I normally would have. But I guess I usually post my preview about 2 days before. So I imagine I'll try to
Christmas Day.
Yeah, but I'll probably have time on Christmas Day to just sit down and write, so it's not going to be that bad.
Nice.
It's just sitting around watching Christmas Story and reading about the Falcons. But yeah, obviously the most, the triple option versus the air raid is the angle that everyone takes because it's the most interesting thing. Like it's funny. This game has popped up on a lot of like most interesting bowl games to watch because of the the stylistic contrast of 80% running versus 80% passing. So,
right.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm guessing a lot of people watch the Army Navy game. That listen to this podcast. That's kind of a nice preview into what type of offense. Interesting thing I noticed is in these triple options that service academies use, and from watching some highlights of Air Force, they do incorporate kind of the modern spread option stuff into their repertoire. So it's not the straight pure triple option all the time, which is pretty interesting. It gives a little wrinkle.
Yeah.
And I think it's made these offenses a little more explosive. Spreading out and all that, and then it gives if you got a guy, they have a guy who's got a pretty good arm, who can sling the ball a little bit. Donald Hammond, not terribly accurate, but he makes big plays when he does complete passes, as is typical of the triple option. You're hitting long passes when you do throw the ball, and
right.
typically
the idea is you don't have to be all that accurate if dudes are running wide open downfield because you have completely fooled the defense.
Yeah, and Hammond is not the kind of explosive athlete that the kid for Navy is. Like he's not the the bulk of their running game. He is like about the fifth leading rusher on the team. So he's pitching and he's handing the ball off a lot more. And he's he'd still be a threat, but like with Navy, every time they drop back to pass, it was more of just a running play. But he's not as much into that. He's actually only ran the ball 106 times on the year. And they actually don't have.
Yeah, that's a really small amount for an option quarterback.
And they do typical.
That's less than 10 a game.
Yeah. Typical of the option. They don't have a dominant runner. I mean, dominant on the carries. They split them between 4 guys, including Hammond. But it just it's pretty funny. Like they don't. There's not guys that are listed as wide receivers that have many carries. So I'm guessing they don't do a lot of like end around type stuff. They don't mix that in. I don't know how they. I guess a slot back is listed as a running back and not as a wide receiver, even though he kind of plays out. So it's I'm not really sure how triple option positions are always designated.
Yeah.
Like I know receivers primarily are blocking and then catching the occasional pass, but yeah, I don't know. It's a very good triple option offense. In SP Plus, they are rated pretty highly. Oh, I had the tab open. I don't have it open anymore. But yeah, they were like a top 20 offense in SP Plus. They're fairly explosive, given that they run the ball. I mean, they're not explosive overall, but they have the potential to be explosive because just the fact that you're running the ball, your yards per pass, your yards per play is going to be kind of dampened by that. But they hit on an explosive play on their passes about a quarter of the time that they throw the ball. So if they throw the ball, they're looking to pick up chunks. And obviously, when they throw the ball, it's probably 3rd and 12. So they have to push the ball downfield. It'll be interesting thing to watch with triple option offenses is 3rd and 8 is not necessarily a passing down. 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, like they'll still run the ball. And honestly, I don't think our defense can stop it. I don't know. Like I just there's any sort of option, anything. I just don't know if like they've been disciplined. They haven't showed that much to be that disciplined this year in anything. Especially, like we talk about gap integrity and things like that. I think that Air Force is going to move the ball pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. So whenever I analyze a bowl game, like I do it with like the biggest grain of salt that I can possibly muster, right? And I think you and I are both on the same page on this, that bowl games are just very weird exhibitions, right? And trying to figure out what's going to happen is sort of, I mean, think of all the things we've seen in bowl games just since, Mike Leach took over, and some of the weird stuff. Like, we lose to Colorado State with, just a completely bizarre sequence of events at the end of that game. Win the Sun Bowl. That was a fairly normal game, but
until it snowed.
You had until it snowed, so that was weird. But it was like, it didn't seem like there was any kind of like major weirdness.
Right.
And then you had the Minnesota game, which it felt like, okay,
the major
Minnesota,
weirdness aside from Luke Falk running for the first down to clinch the game. True. That was he pulled the handoff. But anyways, yeah,
that's right.
But
that was back when the air raid was still crazy explosive under Luke Falk. Sophomore Luke Falk.
Yeah.
But yeah, you had that Minnesota game, and we're all like, "Oh my God, Minnesota is such a train wreck." And remember, Tracy Claeys was the coach, and they had a whole bunch of dudes kicked off for sexual assault and. Yeah, like all this weird stuff, and you're like, oh my God, they're gonna go in and trash them. And we were, super excited to be in the Holiday Bowl, right? Like that was kind of the big thing, because that was, we were still sort of brand new at this bowl game thing, more or less. We were like, whoa, second bowl game in a row, and we're going to the Holiday Bowl, and this is so great, and it seemed like everything was lining up in our favor. And then that was like the worst game I've ever watched. Like, yeah. I mean, outside of a beatdown, it was just like our offense could not do anything. And, the defense played pretty well, but, there was that tipped pass in the end zone that ends up in a touch, and you're just like, fuck, like this is ridiculous, right? And so, and then Michigan State the next year, of course, that was a mess too. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's, these games are tough to figure out, and So I can talk myself into anything, right? I can talk myself into, our defense has had 3 weeks to prepare and they're going to do great. No, they haven't been disciplined, but they're going to be disciplined this time, because they've had 3 weeks to just singularly focus on the triple option. And then I talk myself into, but no, they've been shitty all year long. So of course they're going to be shitty in this one too. And then I'm like, yeah, but our weakness is our secondary and they don't have to actually cover anybody on this. And so, you can talk yourself into anything.
Of course our weakness is our secondary, but that just means that doesn't mean that the other two are the other levels are strong points.
No, they're better. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of whatever. It's
to your point on the secondary.
I talk myself
do.
Anything.
Yeah, to your point on the secondary, I do think it's pretty inevitable that Air Force is going to hit a big explosive passing play.
Sure.
So like they'll get. There'll probably be some frustrating, like if they actually hold the triple option to a couple short gains and force them into a passing down. Yeah, it just it just seems like they're gonna hit some big plays and it's gonna be frustrating. You're like, what is Air Force passing the ball on us? And it's like, well, because we suck at defending the pass, and we have all year, and that doesn't change just because another team doesn't pass as much. Even when they do pass, they're probably gonna be successful, and when they run as well.
It seems like the key with. Yeah, it seems like the key with the triple option is to make sure that you can take away some of their options, I guess is the way to say it. Like if you can keep them behind the sticks and make them a little bit predictable, then I think you obviously have a much, much better chance. They have a super high conversion rate on fourth down. They don't go for it a ton on fourth down. In fact, they're just 75th nationally in fourth down attempts this year. But when they do go, they're converting about 3/4 of the time. So, what you want to do is you want to try and, like I said, keep them behind the sticks a little bit. If you can get a negative play, all the better. And then you just basically put them in a position where maybe it's 3rd and long, and they, and especially if you can do it on their own half of the field, because if they get onto your half of the field and then you get them in a 3rd and 7, well, maybe they just, run their option and then they get a 4th and 2, and then it's, 4th and 2 from your 35, and they're probably going to go for it. Right. So, you kind of have to not give up the massive play, and then you have to occasionally string together 2 or 3 0 or very short gains in a row. And if you can do that, then you're okay. And, and you have to do it without selling out too bad, because then that's when they pop you with the pass that you're not ready for. And because they don't, when they pass, they don't just, drop back and throw for the most part. They're running some kind of action that looks an awful lot like a run. And then you get sucked in, and next thing you know, some dude's running right by you. So.
Yeah. And it's they run the ball, and they run the ball very well. They have the 7th best rushing success rate. So even though everyone knows they're running, they're doing what they need to do to stay ahead of the chains. Not surprising, they are number 1 in yards to go on 3rd down, the lowest yards to go on 3rd down. They're because of that, they're 2nd in success rate on 3rd down. And then, of course, they have one of the best, as you said, 4th down success rates. So yeah, their whole thing is staying ahead of the chains. Much like the air raid at times, like when it's not explosive, it's usually chewing 5-6 yard chunks, and that's what the option is. I mean, obviously, Leach has compared the kind of philosophy of the air raid to the triple option before, because basically you're just making the defense defend more players. Now it's not about as much as about space as the air raid is, but obviously with the spread option, they do spread the teams out a little bit more. But the traditional triple option is not really so much about space; it's just about forcing the defense to be disciplined and which typically in college they aren't, and that's why these service academies have done so well running this what should be a very predictable offense, you would think, but Air Force has got one of the best offenses in the country, and they're running, something that's predictable and a similar the air raid, and you look at the air raid that they're running the same thing. Everyone knows what they're doing, and there's only really a couple schools that have been able to stop it. Most of the schools just get run over by it. But it's the same thing with the triple option. Air Force is in a pretty good conference, the Mountain West, and they're able to win 10 games on the strength of this offense. And then same with Navy has had some really good seasons. And Army last year had a really good year.
Army had a great season last year.
Yep. And so it's just you can say, we have 3 weeks to prepare, blah, 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 all this. But, 3 weeks to prepare, 1 week to prepare with this, it's probably not going to make that much of a difference because it's more about their execution. And if they execute, they're probably going to move the ball, and it's going to be frustrating, but they're probably going to have some really long drives. Navy famously had an over a quarter drive in a bowl game once. It was like a 15+ minute drive.
Right.
I don't see that happening with this just because our defense is so bad. They'll probably give up bigger plays. So, but I do expect some 12 play, 15 play. You see ridiculous numbers of plays on these drives, which again, like the air raid, but I don't know. It's going to have to be the kind of hope they can string together, like you said, string together 3 plays in a row where you do well, force them to punt 3 and outs, and try to get as many of those as you can. Because it feels like if you don't get the 3 and out, once they get rolling, it's going to be tough to stop. But yeah, overall, I think they're going to score some points on us. They should. Like you said, it's a bowl game, so who the hell knows? But yeah, I think truthfully, I'm going to the game, and I think it'll be. I don't think I've ever seen a triple option offense in person, and it'll be fun to watch where you can see the whole field and see how it's being defended, and plus it keeps the action in one spot, so you don't with the air raid you're picking out which receivers to look at deep and picking out which coverages to look at, but with the triple option it's just look at those 3 guys. You got the fullback, the slot back, and the running back, and then the quarterback. And they're just gonna pick one of those guys, and it's gonna be wild to watch, and then come out on the other side when it's just nothing but slinging the ball the whole time. It's gonna be fun. I'm really excited about this. I think this is about as an interesting of bowl matchup that you can get outside of playing a major school.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and plus it's kind of fun because it's Air Force, there's no, I don't really care as much if they lose. I don't know how to put it, just because it's you don't get that much status for beating Air Force, and you don't get and if you lose, it's kind of wow, they ran the option, and you can't handle it, because they beat a lot of teams that they shouldn't beat. Yeah, so I don't know. I've had no anxiety about this game. I haven't even really thought about it that much, other than the fact that I'm just excited to watch the triple option versus the air raid. So it's kind of funny. I know they're going to move the ball on us. It's kind of there's nothing on the line. It'd be nice to end with a winning season, to kind of keep that string going.
Those losing that happened after the Colorado State game. It was I don't know.
Now you're 6 and 7.
Yeah, you're 6. You look at those list of records, and it's 6 and 7, and it's you finish with a losing record. It sucks. And so, in that respect, I really, really would like them to win the game. Just because.
I mean, of course, yes.
But yeah, I'm with you on the rest of it. It's just sort of as I said, bowl games are weird. Weird shit happens. I fully expect this to be, drunk as hell, and it's just whatever happens, and I'm gonna try and enjoy it. We look at so they should have won the Colorado State game. they really, I mean, I know this might be sacrilege with a lot of people, but they really deserve to lose last year's game. You know,
Yeah.
if you look at sort of how each team did, we basically, I'm not going to say we got lucky, but a couple of well-timed turnovers, really made the difference in that game. And so, and the ball bouncing, fumbles that we recovered, things like that. So, I mean, it's just that's just kind of the way it is. And I expect this game to be kind of crazy. And I'm hoping I just get to enjoy it. Like that's kind of my threshold for bowl games is, I mean, I really, really want him to win last year because I want him to get to that 11th win. On this one, I'm like, let me enjoy it. Let me enjoy the fact that, our offense is going out there one more time. Let me just, feel that Coug fun one more time before football season ends. And then, we have to endure another, 8 months without it.
Yeah. And, we'll talk about the offense in a second. Obviously the offense not doing well would put a damper on a fun game. So let's take a break and then we'll look at the air raid versus a service academy sized defense.
We're back.
So if I think, before the break I said a service academy sized defense, you would expect to not find guys over like 280 with a service academy. But they actually have some big dudes. Like they have a couple 300-pound offensive linemen, but they have a defensive lineman that is from Everett, Washington. Mosise Fafita. He is 6'1".
How come we didn't recruit that guy? We wouldn't want an Apple Cup if we recruited that guy.
Oh man,
He's from Washington.
You look at this roster. I think they got like 5 or 6 guys from Washington. We are doomed. They're just going to care more.
Yeah, they're going to care more.
But anyway, so Fafita is 6'1", 330. Fafita. It reminds me of Tafiti in Moana. I'm using my Moana. Like all I know of pronouncing Polynesian names is from Moana. So that's Everett Washington 6'1", 330. Like I have no idea how he's going to meet the Air Force weight requirements at that weight, and because he is a senior, he's going to have to lose that weight.
A lot of weight.
He's going to have to lose so much weight. But anyway, so you would think that they'd have some small linemen that we could push around, but he's a big dude. Outside of him, there aren't a ton of big dudes, but you got that hog in the middle. It's interesting. They don't give up. They don't stuff the ball very much. They don't get a lot of tackles for loss against the run, but they do limit like big running plays pretty well. So they obviously have a philosophy of just kind of keeping everything in front of them in the run game. But when it comes to the pass game, I would say that's their weakness on their defense, which is nice. Always good to see. They are pretty good on passing downs, but when it comes to just your every down, standard down against the pass, they're 87th. I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong stat here. Let me go back. And
by the way, I need to interrupt you for 2 seconds because I just figured this out. We have a freshman offensive lineman, Maaki Fafita. That's his brother.
Whoa!
I just realized that. Like I'm like, wait a minute, I recognize that name, and then I'm quickly looking at bios while you're talking. So there we.
That's really cool.
Nobody's written about this.
Theo had to. Has Theo not written about it?
Same name.
Has Theo not?
Not that I saw, but I've also been pretty checked out for about 3 days, cleaning my house and preparing for Christmas.
Maybe he's waiting to talk to the guys in Phoenix, because that's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, he's the oldest. So the Mosese, if that's how you pronounce it, is he's the oldest brother. And right before he was set to go to Air Force, their dad died, which I did not know that also. So he was 19, and then he had to go off to basic, and that's why I'm like looking at this story right now. It's pretty wild. So
as well.
Anyway, yeah. So brothers, they won't play against each other because our
They're
Fafita is redshirting.
And then he's also on defense.
I guess he could
right?
play, but
He could.
well, they could play against ours. Is an offensive lineman. So
he's an offensive lineman. Yeah, but I hope not.
Yeah, ours is an offensive lineman. That would
Okay.
be. I mean, he's 6'5", 240, so he's probably not ready to play. But, maybe we're winning by so many touchdowns they put him in for a play so he can play against his brother.
He's 90 pounds. He's 4 inches taller than his brother, but he's 90 pounds lighter.
yeah.
That's big. But I'm amazed that he's 330. But anyways, back to their
that's
passing.
amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, that's a cool story. Good find, Jeff. Good find, Nooser.
That's
brothers.
why you listen to the podcast.
So yeah, I'm sure they'll mention that on the broadcast, like 40 or 50 times.
At least.
So yeah, their offense, their defense is not great against the pass. Passing success rate 85th against. They're much better against the rush, and obviously we are, I think, first in passing success rate. I haven't, I typically don't look at our numbers that much because they don't change that much, and they're, but we're third in passing success rate, or WSU is, and then Air Force is 85th. Like I said, Air Force is pretty good at stiffening up on passing downs. But the thing is, like, WSU has been so good on second down, first down. Like, you could see, given that Air Force is, might struggle to defend the pass, I could see us not even getting to that passing down very often. Obviously that would take incomplete passes, but given that our high completion percentage, all that, it's. But I think that this is not a defense that's geared to stop us all that much. They may, again, like every game, you're playing a defense that's fairly average, but they get better in the red zone. Their touchdown rate in the red zone is 20th, touchdown rate allowed. So they're pretty good in the red zone, which would make sense. If they have some smaller guys, they're able to maybe do a little better when the windows are tighter. But yeah, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch us against other than Fafita, or Fafita. Sorry, other than him, it'd be watch us to just be a lot bigger than another team for once. Like, that'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Even on the other side,
nice.
Our defensive linemen won't be quite as dwarfed by their offensive linemen as usual. And then obviously our mammoth offensive line is gonna probably, it's gonna be interesting against their kind of DNs who aren't super big. Obviously you have Fafita, but the rest of the DNs aren't super big. It'll be interesting to see our line, because this is probably not our most athletic offensive line that we've had. Obviously without Dillard, that changes that. So that could be something they have trouble with, maybe just dealing with the smaller guys. But overall, I think our receivers should do well against their secondary. We should be getting a lot of 7-8 yard first downs and second downs, and move the ball. Again, with the bowl game caveat, we could just party a little too hard and party a little too hard in that party town or maybe be on Mill Street in Tempe. But who knows what happens? But I think, again, I think Air Force will move the ball. I think we're going to move the ball. I think Gordon will have a nice send off in his final game. Hopefully we can see some of the seniors like Patman and Winston pick up some, have some nice moments, because obviously it's the last game for some real good players on that offense. It'll be a bummer see some of them go, but so you kind of hope that they show out that one last time, like you were hoping last year. You really wanted to see for some of the seniors to get that last win, get that 11th win. You wanted to see Gardner Minshew have more fun in his last game. But so, guys like Aesop and Patman, who are really the only seniors in the wide receiver group.
Well, and Gordo's only 600 yards away from the NCAA passing record.
Yeah,
I know some people don't like to talk about these things because the team didn't win enough games, but that's special, right? So, 600 yards is a lot, no doubt.
But, he's only done that once this year. So,
he's thrown for over 400 about 7 times, something like that, right? And what it's really going to come down to, as I think it typically does, is what. I think we referenced this kind of when Air Force was announced, which is the idea of how many possessions are we actually going to get.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the wild card, right? And when you get those really big passing numbers are in games when there's lots of possessions. I mean, you look at, Connor Halliday's single game record, right? That was a direct result of giving up 2 special teams touchdowns.
Right.
And the game against UCLA, kind of the same deal, where it was like, you racked up all those yards because all of a sudden you're giving up, quick touchdowns, and, there was a special teams touchdown in there too. And you're just like, so that's kind of how that goes. So if the defense plays okay, then,
if the defense just gives up big, if defense plays okay, right, so or they just give up big plays, yeah.
The defense has to play either very well or very poorly. Like it's one or the other. And it's like, so if they just play okay in the middle, you're probably looking at like 10 or 11 drives, and 600 is probably off the table. So yeah,
that would be very difficult because you're going to need, 50 to 60 passing yards per drive, which is very difficult. You got to be hoping for some bad field position in that case. Yeah.
That's a lot. That would be a lot of bad field position. And anyway, but that's an interesting, like I said, I know some people they're like, I don't care about records. I don't care about wins. Okay, well, good for you. But I think records are cool. I think they're cool as hell. When I look in the record book and I see, who threw for how many yards, and I see one of our guys at the top, I think that's awesome and super cool. And I want it.
Yeah.
So that's I don't care that the record this year was bad because the defense was trash. Like that's anybody who puts that on Gordon is a fool, and I have no time for that. So I want to see more fireworks out of the offense, and I want to see him take a chance at that 600. Like let's go. Let's try and get it.
Yeah, that's part of the fun is just getting to watch this offense one more time. Definitely, It's been the best offense that Leach has had at WSU.
Yes.
And the most explosive one. Gordon's yards per pass are, well above what even Connor Holiday did in 2014, what Falk or Minshew ever did. So this has been a fun offense to watch. Obviously, it's been dampened by some losses, and I get what people feel that way because it's not as much fun. It's never as much fun when you're not winning the games, but it has been fun to it's fun in games like against Oregon. They were down double digits in the fourth quarter, but it never felt like they were out because you knew that the offense could score. And they damn near they came back, but then obviously lost it. But against Oregon State, where it's they get the ball back with a minute and a half left. In good field position, like it's like, oh, they can go score. Like there's like this is plenty of time. Like it's fine. And so it's been fun having this offense. You wish the defense was a little better, and we'd be playing in the whatever bowl. But they should have a good day against this defense. They should, and I hope they do, and I hope there's not any bowl game weirdness there. Hopefully, Gordon. I feel like at times he's pressed a little bit because I think they feel like they have to score every single time or they're going to lose, which for good reason. But so I think
it's true.
And we saw like in the Apple Cup, he started taking some chances, and we've seen in a lot of games he kind of makes some risky throws just because I think he feels like he needs to make a big play.
Right.
So I'm hoping that he's able to keep that out of his mind, and they just score points on and like get chunks, but there'll be guys open, just find them, and it should be, I don't know, it should be it should be fun to watch this offense move the ball again, and after we always get that sour taste in the final game of the regular season, but I'm glad that they get another game to show off, and I'm glad it's not against some like San Diego State or some like ridiculously good defense that'll just make it boring. But
right.
It's nice to play like basically an average defense, and when you have a elite offense, that bodes
These
well
are the
for you.
games where we've done well this year, right? It's where it's strength on weakness on both sides.
Yep.
It's when we go strength on strength that it's not gone well for us. So I feel like this is this is going to turn out. I don't know. I mean, at the very least, it should be exciting and interesting, and people really enjoy. People should just enjoy this offense one more time, because it's likely to be just a little more painful next year. It'll still probably be good because that's what we do, but it won't be. It probably won't be like this, and so enjoy it. Enjoy it, because try to remember what it's like when the offense is painful, man. It's not a lot of fun, and this is a lot more fun to watch. So enjoy it.
Yeah, and I know there's always quite a lot of emotions around the bowl games. I think I think it's similar to the Apple Cup. I think there's a lot of people that pay way more attention to the Apple Cup and the bowl game and not much else. So because I still like people complain about the New Mexico Bowl still all the time. Like, I feel like for a lot of Cougs, that's because that was the first bowl game in forever. I think a lot of Cougs who don't usually pay as much attention to the ins and outs of the season, like, remember that game because of the poor clock management, and so like they still they still point to stuff like that, but like we've talked about, these games are weird. And there's not a lot of like predictive value. They will be used as for next year's rankings. Value. Like the reason we
predictive value.
The reason WSU started ranked this year is because they won their bowl game. Like that. It's going to have. It's going and UW will have because they stomped Boise State. They'll start with a better ranking next year, and so that's just how it works. So people use it as a predictor, but really, these games are just weird. And we've seen teams just get run over because like a lot of people just don't care that much. I'm sorry, I don't know what they're doing out in the living room, like a vacuum or something. It's incredibly loud. Hopefully you can't hear that, but yeah. So I don't know. Okay, that's good. But yeah, so there's I'm just trying to approach this like we've talked about, with just let's have fun, let's watch the game. I like going to the games just because it's like a big party. Hopefully, it's fun. I've been to, this will be my third out of the 5 in the stretch, and I didn't go to the second Holiday Bowl. I was like, back to back. I do love San Diego, but I'm like, I don't need to go 2 in a row. But I had a ton of fun in Texas last year. So I'm looking forward to having some fun in Phoenix. We are going to go, BA and his fiance Katie and some other friends are going to go to the Fiesta Bowl as well. So pretty stoked about that. That's awesome. I'm kind of more excited about that.
Key, right?
Yeah.
The key is to go to the game and just enjoy the trip and have, low expectations for the game itself, right? Because you don't want to, you don't want your trip ruined by a bad experience. And if you're going someplace decent, like the New Mexico thing, I imagine there are a lot of people who paid a lot of money to go to New Mexico, to go to Albuquerque and then watch that turd of an ending. I'm sure that was not a lot of fun, but most of the other times, we've gone to good destinations, and even if the game didn't go great, hopefully people were able to enjoy their time in the city, and Phoenix should be no different, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Especially if you're going to the Fiesta Bowl.
It is a little bit of a bummer. There's supposed to be some rain later this week. I mean, come on. We're in the desert.
Phoenix.
You got to rain on me.
You have one job, Phoenix. You've got one job.
Be sunny. You don't even have to be that warm. Just be sunny, please.
Yeah.
I need my vitamin D. But yeah, I'm also renting a car and driving up, doing a day trip up to the Grand Canyon. So I'm just trying to make a nice weekend. I'm excited to meet some Cougs Center folk who I've never met before. Jesse Casino is going, so I've never met Jesse in person, obviously. And our newest writer, Emma Waitman, she'll be down there with her legendary dad, Casey. And so I'm really.
I feel like I'm missing out on the party, man.
You are, man. We got a nice
100% missing out on the party.
Yeah, we got a nice core. Not everyone's going. I think if it was Vegas Bowl, there'd been a lot more of us there. But I think it'll be fun. Just given the number of events that have been planned and stuff, I'm guessing it's not going to be a huge Cougar contingent there. The flights are pretty expensive, and I don't think a lot of people were that excited about Phoenix, but because the last year the pregame event, the official Alumni Association and CAF pregame event was like all inclusive. You paid like a bigger fee, and you just got like unlimited booze and unlimited food. But this year it's just you just pay a kind of like an entrance fee, and then they have like a cash bar and stuff. So it's not quite the same level of party. They probably didn't want to buy a bunch of booze and then not have it be drank. So, but last year was pretty great. They had Fireball, so you could get 2 drinks at a time, and we would typically get 1 beer and 1 Fireball. So I was pretty saucy by the time the Alamo Bowl started. If you wanted some details of that game, I only know it's one of those things where I watched it back on the recording, and I was like, oh yeah, this stuff happened. Like, but yeah, it's pretty. I'm looking forward to some fun times, and yeah, going to the Fiesta Bowl. I might be more excited about that than going to the Cheez-It Bowl. Just to have that,
I'd 100% be more excited about that if I was you.
Just to have that opportunity to go to college football playoff game, to see Clemson, Ohio State, all the studs that they have, and watch a bunch of future NFL draft picks and watch what should be a pretty damn good game. But you never know with these semifinal games.
Just the excitement factor. Like, when something really big is on the line, it's super cool. I mean, I've gone to a lot of NCAA tournament basketball games. I imagine it'll be, reasonably similar to that, where it's like, it's a big deal. And, you can just feel the excitement and the energy in the venue is just different. It's just different. So it should be. I'm excited. I'm excited for you and super jealous.
Yeah, we were trying to decide what side to sit on. I think we're gonna try to get tickets on the Clemson side. Like I just feel like their fans would be more fun. But I mean our fans still like to tell stories about going out to Columbus and what an awful experience that was with the Ohio State fans. So yeah,
I think you've chosen wisely.
It's funny, but I assume we're all going to be wearing our Cougar shit, because what else do you pack when you go to a bowl game? So we'll be in Ohio State colors, but people probably think like, what are these Ohio State fans? And we'll be like, no, we're Cougs. We're Cougs. But
I don't know. Okay, so we need to have a quick conversation about that. So like when I go to Seahawks games and I see someone, I'm like there for like, the Seahawks and the Buccaneers, and then I see someone roll up in their Steelers gear. I'm like, what are you doing? So is this different than that because it's a college neutral site bowl game? Is it different because you guys were, at a Coug thing 2 days or 1 day before that? Was it like, so I don't know, like we need to have a serious discussion about this.
Yeah, I've thought about that. It is, yeah, I never get the Steelers thing. I don't even get the whole wearing your Seahawks jersey to like any Seattle sporting event thing. Like, I'm always like, why are you wearing a Seahawks jersey to a Mariners game? Why are you wearing a Seahawks jersey to like, I see Seahawks jerseys at the Rain FC soccer matches. I see them at Sounders matches.
Right.
I'm like this is my sports thing, and fine, if you want to do that, those jerseys are expensive. Wear them as much as you want, I guess. And they've talked you into buying more so for Friday and all that, so you just want to wear them. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm like, do I bring just like a neutral outfit to wear? I've considered it.
See, that's what I would do. I would just go neutral.
I already have my clothes all packed, obviously, because I've been in Yakima and I'm going straight from here to the airport and not even going home.
Gosh, that is hardcore, bro.
I know. So like I'm taking day after Christmas. I'm getting on a shuttle from Yakima at 5 a.m. To catch my flight in Seattle. So over the snowy pass. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'll have to try to figure out what to wear. Maybe I'll vibe with figure out what my friends are wearing. So we if we're going all Coug, I guess we'll go all Coug. I guess we'd be kind of annoying, but seems kind of expected though. Like our bowl game was the day before. It's kind of a little different.
Yeah, I think you might be able to get away with it on that.
Well, I think maybe like
too much side eye.
Maybe like the full on,
especially if there's like 5 of you or something, and you're all doing it.
Yeah. I mean, and now we kind of have
what you really need to do. Okay, here's what you really need. Hold on. I got it. Here's what you all need to do. You all need to buy Cheez-It Bowl shirts.
Well, I know BA has one. I know BA has
Cheez-It Bowl shirts and sweatshirts to the game.
I already
and if we win, this is even better.
Cheez-It
if we
Bowl
win,
champs.
then you got to buy the Cheez-It Bowl champ shirts and wear those to the college football playoff game.
The bummer is the official Cheez-It Bowl merchandise is not good because it doesn't have the ridiculous Cheez-It logo like highlighted. They have it like black and white. But from College Hill, the Cougar store, they have a great one that has like actual Cheez-Its on the logo. Like with like a Cougar football helmet, and then it's like it's like sitting in front of some Cheez-Its. So I have that shirt. I'm wearing that on the plane, just to be like I'm going to the Cheez-It Bowl. There are cheese crackers on my shirt. And I'm excited. They have some special Cheez-It concession options. Oh. They got the walking taco with like pulled pork inside a bag of Cheez-Its. And then they got a hot
dude,
a chili.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and then they have a chili dog with like Cheez-Its on top. I'm getting both. I don't care.
Way.
I'm going to gorge myself, man.
Oh my gosh. Like this is really the best worst bowl, right?
Yes,
like,
it is.
You go to the Foster Farms Bowl and you're like, oh yeah, chicken. It's like, but it's like Cheez-Its. Who doesn't like Cheez-Its?
Oh yeah,
it's awesome.
I love Cheez-Its. Like I'm
especially
so
if you have
excited,
children.
like,
if you have children, you love Cheez-Its and goldfish crackers.
But yeah, it's exciting. But yeah, it'd be funny to roll in with the. I don't know if I want to Cheez-It, but I mean, if the Cheez-It logo is super gaudy on like the champs shirt, I definitely want it. But if it's like if they like only have it like subtly on there and small, I'm like, come on, like I want it to say Cheez-It Bowl champs as big as possible. It's like unironically we'll be happy about like being Cheez-It Bowl champs, but that would be pretty funny just to roll in and be like, what up, we won the Cheez-It Bowl.
We won the Cheez-It Bowl.
Cheez-It Bowl champs here.
One of those, if we win, one of those fan bases is going to lose, and you can be like, hey, we won our bowl game. What about you?
Yeah.
How you doing, Ohio State? Suck on it, Buckeyes.
Why don't you just go Cheez-It? Isn't that a term? Cheez-It?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
No, it is. It's like a slang term.
Okay.
Cheez-It, used to urge someone to stop doing something. Cheez-It,
Really?
here comes Mr. Madigan.
Really? I have never once heard that in my classroom when I have walked in on my students.
It is listed as archaic.
Okay.
Or
I mean,
and
archaic to when? Like 1950s?
I think it's the 50s. And so
Hey, Jimmy, Cheez-It. Here comes
I think it's like Cheez-It, the feds. Like stop, run away. like it's like I think it's like you need to run away, type of thing. Like get out of here. Like Cheez-It, let's get out of here.
Like this, like straight out of West Side Story, right? The Sharks and the Jets.
I definitely want to incorporate that now
Cheez-It.
into my vocabulary just for the rest of the week. Just like a temporary addition to my daily
That's right.
vocabulary.
That's
Cheez-It. I mean, I don't know how many times you have to run away from something. Maybe we'll be a little drunk and finding ourselves, in some bad situations, and we'll be like,
Maybe.
Cheez-It, it's the cops. I don't know.
I was unaware of this. I was unaware. You learn things on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Should we cheese it or should we talk about some basketball?
Maybe we should run one more commercial and then come back for some hoops.
All right, let's cheese it for this break.
We're back. Cheese it on that product. I can't. I can't even. I can't.
After that, all the listeners they cheese it off. Cheese it. They said cheese it to this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I can just imagine the next time Isaac Bonton pulls up for a three and Kyle Smith is yelling, "Cheese it!" on the pull-up threes. Cheese it on the pull-up threes.
Just cheese it with the threes already.
Yeah, let's cheese it with the fouls. Let's cheese it with the turnovers, you guys. I just can't. Oh my God, Craig.
Do you think when
we got to pull it back together?
do you think at the end of the '98 Rose Bowl, the refs, as soon as Leaf spiked the ball, they said cheese it and just got out of there? Like so they
just like we're out of here.
We're out of here. They cheesed it. They just cheesed right on out of there.
They did. They cheesed it right on out of there. Hoops. They won another game. They won another couple of games since we talked last against two teams that were decidedly horrible, which we knew were horrible, and so even our offense can even look good against those guys.
Yes, our offense looked good, except for turnovers. Like, what is this about? We're cheesing the ball just all over the place.
Okay, so here's my theory on this. It's so we noted earlier in the season just kind of how rugged the offense was, right? I mean, it was basically give the ball to Ellaby, give the ball to Bonton, and just let them, do something, right? And everybody else just standing around. So my theory is that while, yes, there's been an emphasis in not turning the ball over, I do think that's obviously real. But I also think that some of that was maybe artificially lowered by the fact that we weren't even really trying to pass the ball for the most part. Like at least in any kind of playmaking sort of way, which is where, most of your turnovers are going to come from on offense, where it's like, okay, I'm going to throw this pass that, has a, 90, even if it's a 90% chance of getting through, right? There's still that 10% and, whatever. So I do think that that's part of what was happening earlier in the year was the fact they were running so much ISO. I mean, I'm sure we still are one of the worst in the country, but we were like almost literally worst, I think, in assists per field goal made. As a team. And so that just says, okay, at that point, you're running a lot of ISO. You're not really running a lot of actions that involve a lot of passes. You're just, Bonton's pounding the ball, Ellaby's pounding the ball, and they're shooting long jumpers instead of driving to the basket, which is, turnovers happen in there too, right? Because you get stripped going to the rim, et cetera. So basically what happened, I think, is that the offense is getting a little more fluidity And there's, I think, a little bit of an adjustment now. Now we're making more passes. We're looking for more passes. We're looking to, get the ball to people as they're moving to the basket, things like that. And those are just going to result in more turnovers. So I think there's some of that. And I think you saw that uptick happen against Idaho. So they've been over 19% turnover percentage in 4 of their last 5 games, which that number probably doesn't mean a whole lot to a number of people, but let's just say in their previous, their first 7 games, they were only over 12% over 12% 2 times, and it was 17% and 18.5%. So it's like that; those are really low numbers.
And the national average is roughly 19.
Right. So if you are in the mid-teens, then you're doing fantastic. So to be the last 2 games, they were 26% and 25% or 24%. So that's a pretty major uptick in turnover. So I think there's a little bit of sloppiness. I think there's a little bit of moving to an offense that is a little more motion-based. They're looking to hit passes more than they were. I do think that they're going to settle in somewhere in between. I don't think they'll be as good numbers-wise as they were early in the year, but I also don't think they're going to be quite this bad. I do think they're going to settle in somewhere around the national average, 19-20%, somewhere in there. And I do think it's notable that the last 2 games, even as they've turned the ball over on 1 out of every 4 possessions, their efficiency has been quite high. Now, a lot of that's the defense, but they are shooting better. So I do think there is a bit of a trade-off happening where I do think they're getting better shots, but they're turning the ball over a little bit more to do that. And I do think you'll see a little bit of an equilibrium here as they head into Pac-12 play.
Yeah, obviously hoping that they can continue shooting a little better. They're playing really bad defenses, so, like these last couple games.
Super bad defenses.
So it could, it could just be that. But, and
they're getting a ton of offensive rebounds, too. And that's not going to persist.
Yeah, that was ridiculous against Incarnate Word, over 50%. They grabbed over half of their own misses, which is absurd.
Yeah. Especially for us.
Yeah, they were also close to 50% against Florida A&M. So that definitely helps. Guys like Jazz Kuntz has been knocking down some open threes lately. If he can continue doing that, that helps a lot. I think he's our best 3-point shooter right now by percentage, which is still only 34%, but of the guys that have taken a significant amount. But yeah, so he's if he can hit those corner threes, whatever, knock down. He's shot 9 of 19 in the last 4 or 5 games. If he can hit around 40% of those wide open, 40% of the threes that he takes, that helps a lot. Okay. Obviously, if Bonton can be more selective and only shoot open looks or better looks, he's been very. He's just been so poor at shot selection, but he was a little better in the first half against Incarnate Word. But he ended up with.
He was really, really good in the first half against Incarnate Word. He was on fire. Plus, like you said, he was catching and shooting versus the dribble drive pull up threes, and that made a huge difference. And of course, in the second half, he's like, "Well, I'm making all my shots. I'm going to keep shooting bad shots now." But
yeah, so his percentage overall, and of course, he's turning the ball over quite a bit more the last couple games. And he was not turning the ball over at all. And so I think he's logged 10 turnovers. Against Florida A&M, he had his worst game of the season, you could say. 4 turnovers and 1 of 10 from the field. That was ugly. But I don't know. Hopefully he can turn it around a little more, because I don't see his usage, his shot percentage. He's still going to take a lot of shots. That's pretty clear at this point. Because after he was 1 of 10, he came out and was 7 of 16. He took 16 shots the next game. So it just seems like he's going to continue doing that. His shot percentage, which is the percentage of shots of his team's shots that he takes while on the floor is 30.6% right now, which is really high. That's a guy that uses the ball a lot. That's top 100 nationally. It's more than CJ Ellaby. So he's actually ending the possessions more often than Ellaby is when he's on the floor. So it's
which is not ideal.
Not ideal, especially given his horrible shooting percentage, and then when he's turning the ball over as well, that's pretty bad. Hopefully, we can see him be more of a facilitator. We're obviously still waiting for Jalen Shedd to have an impact, and which he hasn't much, other than he's turned the ball over quite a bit. So that those guard positions are kind of important going into Pac-12 play. If they can't knock down shots, and they're going to be giving the ball away, it could be rough. But I don't know, like just if I think we're always going to be in a game if we can stay in a game if Ellaby is on. But it's going to get real. It's going to get real tough for him. He has been, I think, in recent games, he has been more aggressive, getting to the free throw line, drawing fouls. That's what he's going to need to do to be successful in Pac-12 play. He's going to need to get to the line more. He's obviously going to have to knock down threes better. He's just not done that well this year. He's not been a good three-point shooter, but hopefully, as you mentioned, as the offense matures a little bit, he'll find more just kind of in rhythm shots rather than what he's been doing now, which is kind of dribbling and pulling up and taking much more difficult threes. So hopefully those percentages can tick up and they can do a little better. It obviously Pollard and Miller have been having some good games against these shitty teams, but
I think what you meant to say is let me see. Hold on. The 32nd most efficient player in the country, Jeff Pollard. That's what I think you meant to say. That.
Yeah, and he hasn't even really been doing it with threes lately. He's been just scoring inside.
He's shooting 61% on twos, man. He is seriously. It's crazy watching what they do with him. Sometimes they just drop him in the post, and they're like, "We're just going to run an old school post up offense, and he's going to hold it, and they're going to watch action off of him, and he has the option to pass it or go with a post move." The one thing I do think the little wrinkle they've done, which I think is good, is when he does go with the post move, they do send a couple of people to the offensive glass, which I think is the mistake that, people who run post-ups, that's why it's such a low efficiency shot, is because it's very typically, okay, you take your guy who is most likely your best offensive rebounder and put him in a position where he can't get an offensive rebound by taking a post shot. So they've done that, and it's worked reasonably well, but he's made a ton of them. Look, if you're going to make 60% of those, then that's a reasonly efficient shot. So
he's
got
that.
For him.
He's got that little hook
cool.
He's been using. It's been fairly effective. I don't know.
He's pretty good with it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I don't know how well it works when you're playing against the long, athletic 6'10", 6'11" guys in the Pac-12, but
yeah, we're really
right now against Incarnate Word.
Yeah, we got one more game against Arkansas Pine Bluff, number 345 in the country. Probably.
Yep.
Don't need to preview much of that, but then it gets real. They'll play the best team they've seen right off the bat against USC. That's New Mexico State currently is the best team they've played, but USC's a little bit above that. So it'll be they'll be testing it, and I'm actually looking forward to it just to see like what they look like against a better team. There'll be no one in the gym, so there won't be much energy. But it'll be interesting to see just like how well they do.
Occasionally, that works to our advantage, though. When it's because our guys will have just played four games in front of nobody, right? And so they're going to be somewhat used to that, and then USC is going to show up, and the place is going to be just super dead. So I think we've seen at times when, visiting Pac-12 teams come in and there's nobody there, and they're a little thrown off by the quiet. So, hopefully that'll happen this time too.
Yeah, and we'll probably talk more about those games next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
The Cheez-It Bowl.
Yeah. It's hard to glean much from these games. The positive thing is that they are beating up these teams. Like if they were not doing that, that would be
right. That would be
that would be concerning. Obviously, the turnovers are of concern. Florida A&M did a 3/4 court trap that just annihilated us at times. Of course, we got a bunch of easy buckets out of it, but also there were some stretches where they turned the ball over a bunch against that trap, and they were bringing in, Ryan Rapp and other guys just to see if anyone could, beat it. And so they had some bad stretches. So that's on film now. But Florida A&M, it looked like something they run quite a bit, so they were pretty good at it. Hopefully another team wouldn't be quite as good because it's not something they always run. But I have a feeling we'll see that again. We'll see it just because it gave us some fits. And against with better athletes, it'd be even more of a challenge. But obviously the ball handling is a little bit of a concern at this point. But if the offense can maybe there's a lot of confidence involved in shooting, in feeling good, and obviously even the best shooters are streaky. So hopefully just getting some good shooting games in the under their belt can be helpful going into Pac-12 play. And then, I don't know, maybe finding this new great, maybe they're finding their way, like you said, with the offense. Like, yeah, maybe the offense is, like, who knew? Like, who even knew Jeff Pollard had post-up skills? But if it's post Pollard and crash the board, like, do what you got to do to score points. And hopefully they're figuring this out while winning some games. And it'll be fun to be 9-4. It'll take a while to hopefully go under 500, from that point. So
yeah.
Right now, Ken Palm
has, like you were saying though, like the fact that they're showing well while playing these terrible teams is part of what you want to see. And it'd be one thing if they were doing, the Ernie Kent thing, which is, okay, you're seeing, they're scoring more points than they typically do, but they're also giving up a whole crap load of points because the defense is still trash and whatever. I think the thing that's encouraging here, or that at the very least you go, okay, it's not like a total mirage that the offense is playing better, is it's not like their offensive efficiency is going up and they're also allowing more points. Like the defensive efficiency is still great, with the exception of Florida A&M when, the defense, maybe wasn't as good in that game. I think, probably largely because of, the turnovers led to some live ball, breakout type things. But the other 4 games out of these in this 5-game winning streak, all of them, the opponents have been under, 0.83 points per possession, which is about, for people who are trying to sort of conceptualize that's about 20% better than average, better than your average defense against an average team. So those numbers are still very, very low on defense, which is what you want to see even as the offense is taking advantage of a bad opponent. So yeah, I mean, all reasons to think that the team is getting better, that they're not just sort of beating up on bad teams and it's a mirage like we had so often under Ernie. And that's not to say that they're going to go into Pac-12 play and win a bunch of games or whatever, because they very easily might not. The Pac-12 is better than it's been, and this team is still not, a very good team. And so, there are probably going to be a lot of losses in there. But like I said, there are reasons to think that the team is improving, that they are, figuring out, early in the year, they really were paying no mind to offense whatsoever. And there's a sense now, I think, that the offense is figuring some things out while the defense is still as good as it's been. And, you mentioned Jalen Shedd, really need to get him back because he's a real difference maker on defense. He didn't play in the last game. He was in street clothes. So I don't know what the deal is with his injury and how long that's going to take. But, really need him. We really need to be as strong as we can on the perimeter because, the interior is going to be a real struggle all year. So we need all those guys on the perimeter generating turnovers and stopping penetration. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what I'm completely with you on the USC thing. Like I want to see what they do against against a team with Pac-12 athleticism and Pac-12 talent. Even though they're not a great team, they're obviously quite a bit better than us. So should be fun to watch, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Well, all right.
That seems like a good place to stop.
Seems like a good place to cheese it.
Cheese it. Let's cheese it on this podcast, Craig.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't cheesed it yet, feel free to subscribe, rate us 5 stars.
So funny.
Yeah, subscribe, rate
like,
5 stars.
You turned it into a past tense verb. Sorry. It's just so funny to me. If you haven't cheesed it yet. I'm sorry. Continue.
All right, so subscribe, give us 5 stars, even though we won't stop it with the Cheez-It stuff. Write a review. We like those. And then
don't cheese it on the review.
Tell all your family while you're at Christmas dinner, just all your relatives, just take their phone and go to their podcast app and subscribe to it without them knowing. Yeah. Because that'll just make our download numbers look better, and that'll be great.
Yeah.
They probably don't have their phones locked because they keep forgetting the passcode. So I think it'll be fine. But yeah, so go ahead and do that. Tell your drunk uncle about us. He'll love it. Yeah, and I think it's time to cheese it, man.
Go Cougs, Craig.
Go Cougs.